Thank you, sir. When I reflect on the stages of my life to this point, often they are defined as being either side of important turning points. Pre or post swimming, pre or post marriage, soon to be pre or post politics, and the most seminal of all, pre or post kids. For Lizzie and I, like most parents, having Fletcher and Macy in our lives has changed our purpose, challenged us in ways we never imagined, but provided us unimaginable joy and fulfilment. The decision to depart politics now is also for them. Fletch and Macy never had the opportunity to see me swim competitively, do what I loved and what consumed the early part of my life. But Grandpa has, from time to time, been tempted in a way that I never would, to show them some videos of past successes. Successes that were shared, in the same way that the dedication and sacrifice to achieve it was shared. At this stage, as I prepare to leave politics, I'd like to share some insights on the similarities that exist between elite sport and politics. Because, as it turns out, the two are more similar than most would think, and perhaps in ways that some wouldn't expect. Firstly, finding purpose and enjoyment is important. For anybody that thinks that swimming is an individual sport, they are very sadly mistaken. After all, nobody gets up at 4 a.m. to swim by themselves. And without a clear idea of why you are looking down at a black line for hours and hours on end, it gets hard pretty quickly. I've been lucky in politics to be surrounded by an amazing team. To the members of the Colton SEC, some of whom are here today, thank you firstly for the confidence that you had in me to take on the challenge of winning the seat of Colton 8 years ago, but also for your steadfast support, friendship and counsel in the years that followed. In particular, a thank you to those who have served as SEC presidents over the years, to Andy Giles, to Narelle Hards and to Graham Parry. The Colton SEC has always been an active and engaged group, and I'm so thankful to have had the opportunity to represent you and our broader community in this place. To my staff at the electorate office, both past and present, a sincere thank you. To the current team of Jack, Tom and Kerry, you have serviced our Western community in a professional manner each and every day. You're not just great at what you do, you are also quality people. And I cannot say thank you enough for your loyalty and for standing side by side with me over the journey. For me, I found purpose in politics at the local level. I entered politics as an outsider who was passionate about making a difference, improving the outlook of our state, delivering improvements and supporting our local neighbourhood. And I hope that my community knows I did this to the best of my ability each and every day. And I'm incredibly proud of the work that my local team and I, in partnership with our community, undertook over my time as the local MP. We worked hard to save the Western Hospital. The grassroots movement to save the hospital involved a diverse cross-section of the local community. The Hospital Friends Group, advocates, volunteers, local businesses, and culminated in a near 23,000 signature petition being presented to the Parliament. As I said at that time, I'm incredibly pleased that the government took the course of action it did on that issue. I've been pleased since to watch closely as the hospital transitioned to new ownership, and I'm pleased to say that the new management has retained, as best as possible, the community feel of the hospital by retaining a role for the significant volunteer group. The famous Western Hospital Christmas and Easter raffles have returned, care of the Friends of Western, and our local Rotary group are still making thousands of sandwiches a year from the hospital kitchen to assist Kickstart for Kids breakfast program. I've seen services at the hospital expand and even as recently as last week, we saw oncology services that were unfortunately lost in the transfer of ownership return to the hospital, with plans for future expansion. At the end of the day, my community, like many others, doesn't want to see political point scoring. They just want to see both government and opposition work in the best interests of our local community. Serving your community in Parliament shouldn't be about sledging or overt partisan politics, but about delivering outcomes for those we serve. We fought for improved environmental outcomes on our coastline. The ongoing mismanagement of our coast and beaches is the one policy area that I wish I was able to reach a sensible conclusion on prior to me moving on from this place. Those opposite know that this has gone on for far too long and know that further delay and obstruction will have more severe environmental and economic impacts. And given all the talk I've heard from the government over recent weeks and months about being guided by science rather than politics, my parting message to them on this issue is to please heed your own advice. Over and above these projects, we delivered upgrades at Breakout Creek, at Henley High, local primary schools, kindergartens and sporting clubs. And I believe I leave having made an impact, hopefully not just with physical infrastructure, but also in the way I went about the job. And I will sincerely miss the unique level of interaction being a local MP enables with our local clubs and community organisations. But I know that those friendships and connections will remain strong into the future as Lizzie and I continue to raise our children in the community that we call home. Secondly, timing is everything and culture matters. Elite sport is based on 4-year Olympic and Paralympic cycles, and so are elections in South Australia. We can never choose when we make the breakthrough and debut on national teams. For some, the apex of your career involves 2 games. For others, you may only be in your prime for 1. Most of the time, though, it's a coach or a leader that helps us unlock our potential and sets us on a path. While I've been lucky to be surrounded and supported by a group who I can only describe as gold medal standard, classy individuals, and they know who they are, I'd like to highlight the role that 2 important people played without whom I wouldn't have had the opportunity to serve. The first is Stephen Marshall. A lot has already been said about the skill and work ethic that Stephen applied and does apply to everything he does. But I can hand on heart stand here today and say that Stephen's vision for our party and for our state is the reason that I was motivated to enter politics. The second is the member for Murray Alpha, John Gardner. Without his friendship and support, this journey would have been a little less full. And while I'm sad to see John leave the Parliament, I'm certain the significance of the loss will only be felt by our party in his absence. I'm so very pleased and proud of his decision and for the time he can now commit to Trudy and the girls. Finally, family is everything. You can't be a successful athlete without unwavering support from those closest to you. And sharing success and failure with a wider circle makes the highs more enjoyable and the lows that little more tolerable. Being an elite athlete is an inherently selfish endeavour. You have to make decisions that best support performance. So saying no is often more frequent than it should be. Parents sacrificing sleep and sanity for early morning pool runs and full weekends on pool deck. In some ways, politics is very similar, with your direct family having to sacrifice for you to have the opportunity to do your job to the best of your ability and at a standard that the community should expect. Collectively, our families are aware of the sacrifice required when we sign up for the job. Although sometimes not fully aware, but still aware. But it doesn't mean that it's always easy. To the love of my life and my Rog, Lizzie and our two children, Fletch and Macy, I can't thank you enough for your patience, for your willingness to sacrifice, and for your unconditional love. I love you all very much. I'm looking forward to you having Dad available again on weekends, to better supporting baseball games, swimming lessons, basketball, little athletics, and whatever sporting or other pursuits that you are inspired to pursue. To finish, I wanted to share a couple of things that have centred my approach to politics and life generally. One of the things I'm really grateful for, and that this job has allowed me to do, is to continue to raise awareness and share the impact and importance of the Paralympic movement in Australia. Many of our local community groups and service clubs have heard me talk about many things, often not involving politics over the years. But in short, the importance of the Paralympic movement is far more than providing a platform for elite sport for people with a disability, although it is certainly that. It's about changing perception, showing the value of equality, and ensuring we all understand our own personal responsibility not to limit ourselves. Like others before me, it's now time to publicly air my non-socially acceptable obsession, the game of baseball. Many in the chamber wouldn't have heard of Major League pitcher Jim Abbott, who had a successful 10-year career through the 90s, including pitching a no-hitter. He was born with a congenital hand amputation. I think one of his quotes so succinctly articulates why the Paralympic movement is important. Never allow the circumstances of your life to become an excuse. People will allow you to do it. But I believe we have a personal obligation to make the most of the abilities we have. This is what the Paralympics is all about. Making the most of your abilities and the opportunity, whether that be in the sporting context or, more importantly, in everyday life. And to that end, I stand by my first contribution in this place, where I spoke about the notion of opportunity and how it underpins core liberal concepts, and the need for government to provide citizens with the opportunity to succeed, and to put the economic and social settings in place that allow our all South Australians, the opportunity to forge their own successes through hard work. Much work has been done to this end, but there is still work left to do. Only in the last few weeks have I fully appreciated the impact of the conversations and words that I use every day. Understanding that they are indirectly being absorbed by my kids and how that is shaping them as humans. And both Lizzie and I couldn't be prouder of both Macy and Fletcher. Fletcher, though, came home with a picture book that he'd authored and illustrated at school a few weeks ago. And seeing it made Lizzie and I smile and cry at the same time, and really reflect. And I wanted to share it today. The book was titled The Question. One day, a man lived in a house. He had 3 legs. One day, someone knocked at the door and said, "Why do you have 3 legs?" He said, "I was just born like that." It's simple, it's beautiful, and it's exactly the outlook that we want our kids to have. As leaders, as a South Australian community, kids can teach us lessons that we don't even know we needed to hear. A society that's just a little more accepting and tolerant to difference. No matter if that is physical difference, differing political views or priorities, it's important, and it is one that we should strive for. Tolerance and acceptance of our differences has been the bedrock of the democratic system of government forever, and it must remain that way. But in the years ahead, I suspect we will need to fight harder than ever to ensure that that remains the case. Finally, I never got into politics for a career. I've always seen my time representing my community as a period of service and an opportunity to return some of the phenomenal goodwill I received during my swimming career. While the number of MPs stepping away from politics ahead of the next election, I've also reflected on the changing makeup of this chamber. And perhaps, while novel, I think it's time that we appreciate that no matter when we enter or leave this chamber, whether it be early career, perhaps having spent some time in a professional setting before entering mid-career, or finding one's way here prior to retirement, each has value and brings different perspectives. As was announced in May this year, I'll initially return to sport as the Deputy Chef de Mission for the 2026 Australian Commonwealth Games team competing in Glasgow next year. It continues to be an honour to help and inspire the next generation of Australian athletes, and I hope to continue making a contribution to Australian sport as we head towards an important milestone Games in 2032. Thank you again to the people of Colton for the opportunity to serve you. As Seattle Mariners superstar Ken Griffey said, to succeed in baseball, as in life, you must make adjustments. And so it's time for me to make an adjustment. And thank you for having me.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And Mr Speaker, can I take this opportunity to also thank the member for Colton for his enormous contribution to not only his local community and his state and his party, but can I also thank the wonderful gallery who are here with us this afternoon, starting with Lizzie, Fletcher and Macy, who I know have been Matt's everything. It was such a heartfelt tribute to you and all your support, and to your family, to people who have been involved in the party, the staff, supporters, those that have stood with Matt and fought elections with him the whole time. Thank you. Matt, Mr Speaker, is one of the good guys in politics. He is genuine, he is thoughtful, he is compassionate, he is professional, and just like he's excelled in sport in another career, he's excelled in politics, sir, for his community, for his state and his party, and it's been a privilege to have him in our team. And I know that the electors of Colton are very grateful. They're very grateful for the enormous contribution that Matt has made, improving the lives of many throughout his community. He's made an enormous difference during his time in this place, and on behalf of the opposition, so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank him, to wish him well in his best endeavours in his next part of the journey, and to Lizzie, Fletcher and Macy, I know you're going to enjoy having Matt around for much longer. He's a dedicated father. I know that he loves his family, and we're very sad to see him go. But I know he's going to love every minute being with you. So thank you, Mr Speaker.
The Leader of Government Business.
Matt Cowdrey is a wonderful ambassador. He's a wonderful ambassador for his sport. He's a wonderful ambassador for this parliament. And unfortunately for us, he was a wonderful ambassador for the Liberal Party. We're neighbouring seats, Mr Speaker, and I saw firsthand his independent thought processes. It's been my experience watching leaders that the first principle and characteristic most leaders have is the ability for independent thought, and Matt has that in spades. I'll give you two examples, Mr Speaker. There was a potential code amendment occurring in Lockleys while the Marshall government were in office, being considered by the then Planning Minister and Deputy Premier. And it was a very large public meeting, which could have been hostile to a government MP. Matt, classy as always, turned up, took people's questions, took their considerations back to the government, but always remained loyal to his party, but remained independently minded about what he thought should happen. The other was the vote, a very difficult vote in this parliament on the decriminalisation of abortion, where I thought Matt made one of the most telling and important contributions of the debate at the end, which I thought was moving. And I won't give it justice, but I thought the way he spoke for all of us in the minority. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And that day, Mr. Speaker, he earned a respect that I don't give to very many people in this parliament, because he showed a vulnerability to the parliament that I think not many MPs do. He'll go on and do amazing things and be a great ambassador for our country and our Paralympians in Glasgow, and he'll serve them well there. And no matter what he does in the future, no doubt he will be an exceptional participant. The people of Colton, no doubt, would be very grateful for his service as well. I stood with him every day in the last election at a pre-poll, and it broke my heart the number of people he knew personally coming up to vote, and he was well respected by his community, and he was a great standard bearer for his side in the Western Suburbs because of his character, and it shines through. I'd like to personally wish him and his family all the very best for what he does next. He's held in high regard in the Parliament by all sides, not just for his personal achievements in sport, but for the way he carried himself when he was in this place. And that should echo. So congratulations on your service in this Parliament, and congratulations on what you do next. I'm sure it'll be a huge success.
The Deputy Leader.
Thanks very much, Speaker. And I'll just rise on, perhaps on a slightly lighter note, and because he's just so constantly and totally modest about his extraordinary achievements, just to put them on the record right at this moment, before coming to Parliament, of course. We had the joy of coming to the Parliament together, and, you know, I'd say in many of the same ways, he's highlighted the extraordinary inspiration that was Stephen Marshall in inspiring us to what we could do, what we could bring in terms of a change, and it was a wonderful thing to come to government together. Matt came to the Parliament against a background of being the singular most successful Australian Paralympian, with 13 gold medals, 23 medals in total, and the only person I can think of who, in all modesty, could reflect upon some of his favourite gold medals. Something that I think he did without even thinking about that extraordinary context. That he, in his final valedictory remarks in this place, draws parallels from high-level sporting achievement to what can be done in public service, including in the Parliament, I think speaks to his commitment to that public service. I think we all in South Australia are the better for his having served these 2 terms, particularly those members of the community in Colton. And so I want to pay tribute to you, Matt, and to wish you and Lizzie and Macy and Fletcher, the author of that wonderful story, all the very best together and in the years ahead.
The member for Morialta.
Thank you, sir. I was very struck by a lot of things that Matt said today. It was a beautiful, humble, heartfelt and deeply intelligent speech from a beautiful, humble, heartfelt and deeply intelligent man who it's been a real privilege to serve in this Parliament with, and it is a real privilege for me to have this opportunity to respond today, much as I'd hoped having announced my own retirement a bit over a year ago, that I wouldn't have this opportunity. I'd hoped that Matt would serve us for many years as a South Australian. As a friend, I'm grateful that I can now catch up with him without necessarily having to do so in this building. But I know that this is absolutely the right decision for Matt and his family. He's always worked hard to prioritise family. He's always expressed his appreciation to his family and the role that they played in his sporting career. But ever since he has been in this parliament, and especially since the children have come along, it's been Lizzie and Fletcher and Macy have been central to everything he's thought about, and now he'll have more time to put that priority into practice every day of his life. Whatever happens professionally for Matt next, after the wonderful trip that he's going to have as the Deputy Chef de Mission for the Commonwealth Games team, where he's going to serve our country proudly once again, there's not too many jobs in the world that are available that wouldn't enable you to spend more of your own self being present in the moment with your children and your family when you're with them. And I know that Matt will enjoy that. Matt and I were introduced by a mutual friend by the name of Priya Pavri, who studied law with Matt. And Priya actually spoke to me earlier today, and she asked me to put on the record a couple of her thoughts about the sort of person that Matt is. She wrote to me, "It's so special to make friends when you're young with people who you can think with, share ideas with and debate different approaches with, and who share a drive to serve our local communities. It's even more special to see them go on to represent their local community with integrity, never stuck in the past, but always continuing to listen and grow their ideas." Matt is somebody who has served that community with integrity and who has made everybody who has supported him on that journey extremely proud along the way. Matt's campaign manager in his first election in 2018 was a woman called Beck Linus, who went on subsequently to serve this House in my office as Leader of the House and Manager of Government Business. She organised the business of the House for 2 years, and she went on to be Chief of Staff to the Minister for Education during the pandemic. Now, campaign managers and candidates, as the Premier well knows, can have a unique sort of relationship, and sometimes that can be a very challenging relationship and sometimes it can be a positive. If you're wondering how Matt Cowdrey's relationship was with his campaign manager, it's typical of his character that his campaign manager did get in touch with me also today, asking me to share a few words. She says, "Matt, it was an absolute privilege to serve as your campaign manager in 2018 and work side by side with you to win back Colton. We took an all politics is local approach, kept it simple, and that's exactly how you went on to serve. Logical, no fuss, and always focused on making local issues relatable and achievable. Watching you grow and flourish as a genuine, smart and hard-working local MP, all while becoming a dad and everything that comes with that, has been an absolute pleasure." So Matt's legacy to his community and to this state is significant. Some of it's been touched on, but it's typical of his modesty that he didn't talk about that much of the role that he played. In regards to health, that story of the Western Hospital I had some insight into, because on the day that the news broke that there were challenges at the Western Hospital, I was supposed to be travelling to Kangaroo Island with Matt, and I was looking forward to 2 hours of music and banter, all of the things that you expect on a road trip. Instead, I got 2 hours of Matt on the phone to what seemed like dozens of local community people, health officials, businesses, people in the media, working to build that campaign that was ultimately so important in protecting health services in the West. Apart from that, he was a strong advocate for achievements like the return of cardiac services and the rebuild at the QEH. As Minister for Education during the term of the last government, you can imagine Matt had strong engagement at the local schools and preschools. And as Minister, I would recall Matt would always be expecting the Minister to pay due attention to those sites. He was a strong advocate in a reasonable way on behalf of his community, and they did very well by his service. What's perhaps less well known is the significant role Matt played supporting my office in a working group developing a strategy for early learning, which ultimately formed part of a budget bid that was successful in 2021 to support parents and families, and particularly the developmentally vulnerable young people that were so in need of extra support. Matt's strategic insight into that role not only helped shape that policy that was so well funded and has since been expanded on and continues to be supported by the current government according to that strategic intent, But it was also critical to have him supporting me in getting the then Treasurer across the line and actually funding the program, which was no small feat. In environment, sport, transport, infrastructure and many more areas, Matt left a mark in his local community and in our state. Most importantly, Matt, from my point of view, I want to thank you for your friendship, counsel and your advice. You are somebody of extraordinary integrity and purpose. At the age of 36, you're now about to embark on your 4th career. Any of the first 3, no doubt, would have been satisfactory or mind-blowingly impressive to most people that we would ever like to meet. I've no doubt that you're going to make a profound impact in the years ahead and you're going to do us all proud. And so to Lizzie, Fletcher, Macy and you, Matt, I wish you all the very best.
The member for Elder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was only elected in 2022 at the last election, and the member for Colton, from the very beginning of my first interaction with him, has always been incredibly kind and respectful and often very funny. And I have really, really appreciated, I mean, I don't know if friendship's too far, I don't know, but I've appreciated his friendship since being elected, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, and I might be talking out of school, but too late, I'm halfway through the sentence. You know how sometimes you're standing at the lift in this building and it's been a long day and you just think, who am I going to be in the lift with? Because my patience is at a low level. When the lift doors open and it's Matt in there, I'm so happy because I know that we're going to be able to talk about our families, and I know it's going to be light-hearted and it's going to be lovely, and there's not going to be anything of here pulled into there. You've always been so kind to me and you've always acted with such integrity. It has been a pleasure being on the Economic and Finance Committee with you. It has also been, while I'm very, very sad that I won't get to see you in these corridors anymore, it has been really, really lovely to see how happy you have looked over the last few months. There's just like this weight's been lifted off, and you knowing that you're going to be able to spend more time with your family is really, really special. So thank you very much for being such a wonderful colleague, friend, over the last few years, and all the very, very best for what's next. Thank you.
The member for Morford.
Thank you. I'd also like to pay tribute to the member for Colton and the work he's done for his community. Colton, of course, is the neighbour, direct neighbour of the electorate I represent, Morford, and in fact, with boundary changes that seem to happen every election, the most recent being that Glenelg North moved from Colton back to Morford, there's been a real synergy between our two officers over the 8 years that Matt has been the member for Colton and I've been the member for Morford. I first got to know Matt, of course, into the 2018 election, like the member for Hyson, we were elected in 2018. And of course, I'd seen Matt and knew of him as a Paralympic champion. But just getting to know him on the polling booths at pre-poll and just seeing how down to earth he was and how humble he was a fantastic experience. In terms of just getting to know Matt as well. As soon as he was elected, as I said, sharing coastline between Glenelg North up to West Beach, quite often you would have the communities are very much interlinked, and I would quite often times come across the community of Colton who are at Glenelg shopping quite often, or at the surf clubs as well, and they all spoke of Matt in the highest terms, and I just want to echo that, to know that not only was he respected in his community of Colton, he was certainly also respected in his community of Morford. And I think that's what, when we're parliamentarians, of course we're there to represent our community, but you can just see by Matt's contribution, it was more than just representing his direct community. It was about making sure that the overall, the Western area was well supported, but also, as you can see, with his passion in his future endeavours in terms of the Paralympic movement. It's more than that. It's making sure that South Australians are supported, that Australians are supported as well. his work, as he mentioned, with the Western Hospital, has been, really important for his community. It's been, similar. The community hospitals are so important to a lot of communities where they're in, and just to see the passion that he has for the Western Hospital, I think, really sets up his community, but also sets up, people in my electorate as well, because many of them also make use of the Western Hospital as well. If I say, in terms of his talk about family and how important they are, I think that's, again, the reason we go into politics is to make a better world, not only for our family, but also for those who also have families as well, and the experience that he's brought by having a young family. You can see how, the challenges that we have, all of us as parliamentarians, trying to represent, so many families in our communities, that it does mean that our families, our direct families, have to make sacrifices. So to Matt, I wish you all the best. I'm certain you will do just as well in your future career as you've done in your previous careers. To Lizzie, Fletch and Maisie, enjoy having your dad back.
I'd just like to offer my congratulations to Matt, and the recognition of 36 years of age. You've already put yourself on the world stage as Australia's most successful Paralympian, and then served like a champion in your local area for your constituents, for the sporting clubs, for the community groups. And I haven't heard anyone have a bad word to say about the advocacy role that you've played for them in your time in here. And I wish you all the very best for whatever the next chapters bring, because at 36 you've already achieved so much, and I'm sure you'll continue to be a world beater in whatever you do. Congratulations. The Leader of Government Business, did you want to